Next text translation. When Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was king of this world, all bodily and mental suffering, disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, and fatigue were completely absent. There was even no death for those who did not want it. Srila Prabhupada's purport, His Divine Grace. All these facilities existed because of Lord Ramachandra's presence as the king of the entire world. A similar situation could be introduced immediately, even in this age called Kali, the worst of all ages. It is said, Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna descends in this Kali Yuga in the form of his holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. If we chant offenselessly, Rama and Krishna are still present in this age. The kingdom of Ram was immensely popular and beneficial. And the spreading of this Hare Krishna movement can immediately introduce a similar situation even in this Kali Yuga. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. It's a fact. My spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto him again and again. We ask everyone, please, please, please make a prayer, make a little prayer to Krishna right now to bless us, that what we say is only what we've heard from Guru and Shastra with no distortion and no inappropriate motivation. We come together to hear from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're here to glorify Krishna. We're here to glorify the Lord. We do this as an offering to the Lord. The Lord is pleased by our humble effort. Krishna is so kind that he allows us to please him. So we hope you all said that prayer. And there's a very interesting verse. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kalaya Doshanide Rajam. The age of Kali is like an ocean. Doshanide, an ocean of faults. There's so many imperfections, so much disturbance in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga. Manda Sumada Mateo Mandabhagya Upadrita. It says that everyone is born on a level of Shudra in this age. Low born, misguided, not so much inclined to spiritual life, and always disturbed. Manda Sumanda Mateo Mandabhagya Upadrita. It's not such a good time, and there's a lot of difficulty. All you have to do is go through the news section on the internet, and you see there's this disturbance, there's massive forest fires, there's hurricanes, there's war, there's pestilence, disease. People are squabbling, fighting. The incidence of people shooting each other in the United States has gone up logarithmically in this year. People are just tearing each other apart. It's the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. People don't know the truth, they don't speak the truth, they don't follow the path of truth, and therefore everything is in a disturbed condition. But here, in this verse, we're hearing about the wonderful effect of excellent leadership. Lord Ramachandra, Krishna himself, comes into this world. Yada yada hi dharmasya glane bhavati bharata. Whenever there's a disturbance, whenever there's a discrepancy, whenever people forget the principles of religion and people are confused, Krishna comes or sends someone to enunciate the principles of religion, to encourage those who are pious, and to correct those who are misdirected. It's a fact. Shastra says it, it's true. Krishna is offering an alternative to this crazy mixed up world full of contentiousness and suffering and worry. There's actually no need to worry. Anybody here worried? Anybody? Everybody? I know myself, I have a terrible habit of worrying. And we repeat this again and again because it's such an excellent point. Donna Damar says that worry is not necessary. You hear that? It's not necessary. It not doesn't help. Worry is not necessary. Worry is ridiculous. Worry is useless. Then he said, worry is insane. Worry is actually sinful. Worry is sinful. Worry is actually an offense to the Lord because we think Krishna doesn't know what he's doing. So there's a peace formula. We accept that Krishna is in control. We accept that Krishna is our friend and well-wisher in every way. And we accept that we are supposed to obey, follow, please, serve Krishna. If Krishna's our friend, but he's not in control, what's the use? If he's in control, but he's not our friend, what's the use? If we accept that he's in control and he's our friend, but we don't want to do what he wants, the way he wants, when he wants, we're going to be worrying. Vaikuntha means the place of no worry. Our true home, our normal, healthy condition, sanity, wisdom. That's where we're going. That's what we want. That's what we long for. That's what we're missing. And Krishna is calling us, and the Guru is calling us. Come back. Give up this ridiculous life of endeavoring for comfort in this world. It's impossible for us to be comfortable in this crazy world. Tapo divyam putraka yena satram shudyet. Lord Rishabdev tells his sons, in the human form of life, any human beings out there in the human form of life, it's appropriate. Who can say? Come on, unmute yourself. What's appropriate in human life? Tell me. Come on, I'm not going to answer it. What's appropriate in human life? Tapo divyam putraka yena satram shudyet.
Austerity.
Austerity is appropriate. It's appropriate to voluntarily accept austerity. That's what Krishna tells us, to purify our existence. Austerity is the wealth of the Brahmins. Many people avoid austerity. I don't want to do that. I don't like that. It's not comfortable. It's outside my comfort zone. I want to serve Krishna in a comfortable way. And what are you talking about? Without austerity, without sacrifice, where's the love? And what's the use of a world without love? Without love. Selfish world. So there's a spectrum. And one end of the spectrum, in our insane condition, we are selfish. What do I want? What do I like? I like this. I don't like that. I like it. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that everyone in this world is born into delusion based on desire and hate. I like this, and I don't like that, and I don't like to do that, and I don't want to do this. And what is that? It's a crazy person, a selfish, crazy person who's never, ever satisfied. But for us, it's appropriate to live a life of sacrifice and service. That's normal. That's normal. That's sanity. That's wisdom. That's a true life with a backbone, with character. We're here to please Krishna. Prema Paramatamaham. Love of God only. Love, love, love. Love is a verb. And Prabhupada said, I love you means I love you for you. I don't love you for what I get from you. So our true nature is to be loving beings. And the spiritual master is helping us to get back to that normal, healthy, sane condition of loving service. Ahaitukiya pratiyata, unceasing, unmotivated devotional service to Krishna is the only way to satisfy the self. And at first it seems like a bitter pill, right? But Shastra says there are two paths. Privitam Marg, Nivritam Parg. The path of indulgence and the path of renunciation. And one path is very sweet in the beginning and then bitter in the end. The path of indulgence is I like this, I like this, I like, and then what? It's bitter in the end, like poison. the path of sacrifice, Nivritti Marg, the path of renunciation, the path of service, might seem bitter in the beginning, but very sweet in the end. So we run wealth of the Brahmins. Austerity is the wealth of the Brahmins. That's what they desire. And that's who they want to emulate. To, Mahajanayana Gatasa Panta. We want to follow in the footsteps of the great souls. Who do you look up to? Who do we allow to speak into our life? Who do we associate with? We become like who we associate with. We become like who we associate with. And maybe I'm not very advanced, but therefore I will serve someone who is advanced. I may acknowledge I may not be very advanced, but I'm going to serve my spiritual master. And it's all based on desire. First, we hear the right direction, then we want it. First, we know what's right, and then we want it. Everyone is free. Everyone is free. We don't have to feel intimidated or put down or discouraged to hear that there's a higher platform than the platform I'm on. We can say, you know what, Lord, I'm imperfect. I make mistakes. I'm fallen. I'm lazy. I'm misguided. I'm lusty. I'm greedy. I have this and that, but I want to give myself to you. I want to turn my life over to you. And Krishna will work. He will open doors. He will give us opportunities. He will gradually make us, Lord says, I will not, don't doubt that I will complete the good work I've begun in you. First, we know where we're going, then we want it, and then we open our heart, and Krishna, how wonderful is Krishna? Huh? How wonderful is Krishna? That even though I'm a fallen soul, that Krishna is going to bring me to the highest platforms. No matter what level you're on, you can go to the highest level if you listen to the instructions of the spiritual master. And what does he say? Such a simple process. Rise, bathe, chant. Make the sacrifice to come together to chant the holy name. It's a sacrifice. Maharaj Ambarish, he was a great, great, great wealthy king. He walked to the temple. Put one foot in front of the other, he went to the temple. Even if he had to crawl, he went to the temple. And what did he do there? Kirtan. Where do you live? Kirtan. What's your address? Kirtan. What's your life's breath? Kirtan. Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalona, Seva, 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 Gatinam. Ta. It says that there's no other way in the holy name. There's no other way but the holy name. There's no other way in the age of Kali except to come together and chant the holy name. It's a sacrifice. So we do this as to please the Lord. So the process is there. Come together and chant the holy name. Open the book. We're hearing about this wonderful, wonderful reign of Lord Ram. And everything came from that. They talk about global warming, climate change, disturbances in the atmosphere. Maharaj Yudhisthira, following the footsteps of Lord Ram, he was responsible even for the weather. It would only rain at night. There wasn't excessive heat and cold. Prita Maharaj, he invoked obedience from Mother Earth and said, produce. And it's miraculous the way the earth produces. But if we don't perform the sacrifice of chanting, if we don't come together to hear from the Shastra, if we don't desire to serve the Lord, then the earth will withhold its bounty and there will be scarcity. So we're so fortunate that Krishna is so kind that even in the darkest time, there is light. We will get light from this Shastra. And we see all these people protesting and saying the government is unfair, the police are cruel, all these, they're complaining about how twisted and unfair and horrible things might be with some of the government institutions and leadership people. But they don't know, they've forgotten that there's parastas matu bhavanyo vikto viktat sanatana, there's another world. There's another dimension. There is another quality of life available, and it's available for you right now. If you want it, you can you can be within this world, but not of this world. We can step out of this world and step right into the spiritual atmosphere and into the guidance of the great souls like Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Radhanath Swami, Kadambakana Maharaj, Vaisheshika Prabhu. My God, these are such luminaries. It's inconceivable that they even exist, and the way that they're impacting everything by their sincere devotional service. And we can be completely satisfied just to serve Krishna. Sometimes we get a tipping point and we start to focus on our own comfort and safety, accumulating the bank balance, a bigger bed, a more opulent apartment, this and that, more clothes, more shoes, more jewelry. And it's all decorations for a dead body. This will never, ever satisfy the soul. Satisfaction is available, but not by emolument, unnecessary, extravagant bodily comfort. So how much time do we spend on bodily comfort? And how much time do we spend making our sincere, humble effort to push on Lord Chaitanya's wonderful movement? A few hours a day? Whatever we can. If we do our humble best, Krishna will be pleased. We desire it, we try, we offer it to the Lord, and Krishna will accept it. And it's progressive. Prabhupada said every year, take less for yourself and give more in devotional service to Krishna. This is the path we're on. So we welcome everybody's comments and questions and angles of vision. Please unmute yourself and share your realizations, your questions, but, or whatever you got. We want to hear you. Prabhupada said, if you can't say what you have to say in 15 minutes, you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm over time. I've been talking for like 15 minutes now. Yeah. What do you have to say there? Hands up. When the police come, they say, hands up, right? Let's hear what you have to say. Wonderful devotees.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful class.
Only repeating Prabhupada.
Yeah, sometimes when we hear devotees preaching strongly and boldly about Krishna consciousness, sometimes we may get this feeling that Krishna consciousness is still rigid. It's still morbid. It's still morbid. It's too hard. It's tough. It's like stoic. Life is hard and then you die. And when we have this impression, then I observed in my own Krishna consciousness practice. If I have a feeling like that, an impression like that, that Krishna consciousness is just too much, it's too negative. I try to flip the coin, so to say, and I think, but what about the materialistic life? Isn't it harsh? There's this concept, pavarga. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, in his morning walks a lot, he talks about pavarga, where you work hard like a horse and then the foam comes in your mouth and then you die frustrated. Srila Prabhupada he says in the purport how he witnessed a person who was begging his doctor to prolong his life for 4 more years so he could complete his Srila Prabhupada said, material project. And I heard Ganesham Prabhu, he's a chaplain. He was a chaplain at that time, a counselor at the big hospital, Bellevue Hospital or something. And there was a man, he was about to die. And Ganesham said, so what's the most important to you right now? Hoping to open up a faith-based discussion. And the man said, yeah, I want to know if that lottery ticket that I bought will win. So I want to live just a little longer, just till the draw, so I know if I'm going to win. So when we think of Krishna consciousness as something that is rigid and morbid and overly austere, too harsh, then we should think of the material world. Is it not harsh? Is it not full of foam coming from the mouth? You work hard and you die of frustration. And Srila Prabhupada says, people are choosing to enjoy in this world, even though in order to enjoy in this world, you have to go through a certain amount of pain. If you want to be rich and enjoy your wealth, you have to work hard. Yeah. So that's my little contribution.
Look at the alternative. But if something's valuable, there's a price to pay. Such another Maharaj, your spiritual master, said to your god brother, Hari Prasad, no matter what you want in this world, you're going to have to perform some austerity. So since you're going to perform some austerity, why not get the best bang for your buck? Why don't you get the best return? Why not go for the highest pleasure? Why not go for something that endures rather than something that is like smoke and you just grab it and it's gone? So there's a price to pay in either kind of life. And then, we're hearing from scripture, so we know what to desire. And somebody wrote a little thing in the chat there. Doesn't the Mataji supposed to dress nicely? Did you see that? It popped up on your screen in front of your face. And we answer, yes, why not dress nicely? For Krishna's pleasure. We love beautiful, beautiful devotee Matajis coming with their beautiful dresses, coming before the Lord to please the Lord. The gopis were dressing like that, with makeup and jewelry and dresses. That's not wrong. It's why are you doing it? Who are you trying to please? Right? That's the point. We're eating, we're dancing, we're singing, we're dressing for the pleasure of Krishna, out of love, not out of some selfish motivation. I see a couple of chats there. What does it say? Isn't it also a wife's duty to dress nicely with jewelry and nice clothing? Yeah, why not? For Krishna's pleasure. The brahmacharis were complaining to Srila Prabhupada in one morning walk. We got the mothers doing this and they don't cover their head and they, and Prabhupada wasn't saying anything. It was in Prabhupada's memories. I was just listening a few days ago. And then they got back from the morning walk and there was like, 3 or 4 of the Matajis had been cleaning Prabhupada's room and dressing his deities and preparing breakfast. And as soon as they opened the door, the wives all threw themselves down in obeisances. Jai Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, if you associate with women like this, you'll go back to the spiritual world. Right? So they were full of love for Guru. Yeah, and it's true. Some people, they think, oh, this is very harsh and stoic. Yes. We're not afraid of that. Like the Marines, they say, they run to the sound of the gun, right? Sometimes if there's a shopping mall or a concert and somebody starts shooting, everybody runs away. But the Kshatriya, those that are trained to protect in the military, they run to the sound of the gun. They go to where the problem is. The doctor goes where the sick person is. The fireman is against fire, but he goes to the fire. The lifeguard goes into the deep water. Why? He's not stupid. He's trying to save someone. They're trying to put out the fire. They're trying to provide the remedy for the disease. Help the people that are suffering. And that's difficult. It's not based on, I like it, I don't like it. It's like, how can I help? How can I serve? The mother, she loves the child. She makes so many sacrifices for the child. Prabhupada calls it the burden of the beast and the burden of love. The beast is bound up with the harness, hitting him with the stick, making him pull the heavy weight at the burden of a beast. He's forced. But the mother is holding the weight of the child, and the child is getting bigger and heavier every year, but it's a burden of love. Voluntarily accepting austerity in the service of the Lord to purify our existence. Yes, please. Athena, please, we want to hear from you.
Hare Krishna, Adi Purusha Prabhu, Dandavat pranams, Dandavats to all the devotees here as well. This is an reflection to your austerity point and Ananda Bihari's point.
My point is Prabhupada's point.
Sorry. Well, you brought up the point, but Prabhupada's point. And actually, I would love, you quoted a verse, I believe, and I love to know where that is, as I just kind of gather just Shastra references. Sorry?
Speaking to his sons, Tapo Divyam Putraka in a Satam Chudyet. In the human form of life, it's appropriate to voluntarily accept austerity in the service of the Lord to purify our existence. Lord Rishabdev in the
Thank you. Yes, that's perfect. And my comment is, this is also, Ananda Bihari had mentioned, some people say, Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga is too austere. But if you take a look at any, I guess you can say, bona fide tradition, there's always a level of austerity in every path. The Christians for Lent give up something. Jesus was starving through the desert. Ramadan for the Muslims, and then they also pray 5 times a day, and it's like stop, drop, and pray, and they have to wash their hands, put water on their head, their neck, wash their feet. All this, it's an austerity. For us, chanting 16 rounds, even for us now as devotees, we don't think it's truly an austerity, but in one sense, perhaps in the beginning it was. But even being vegetarian, not eating meat or eggs and that such, and even for it's still a level of austerity. You only eat halal, only eat kosher. In the Jewish tradition, say like you can't do anything, or there's some really strict or Orthodox Jews who use any electricity from like sunset on Friday to like sunrise on Sunday. So there's always an element of austerity, and that verse that you mentioned, if it's not just applicable to that time period, it's applicable to all humanity. Human form of life, we should accept some sort of form of austerity. And if you look across all the traditions too that you would consider bona fide, or those who are changing lives, transforming, and having some sort of love of God, there's always an element of, it's 2 things: one, austerity, and then cultivating love of God, some practices. So it was more so like to share the comment that you'll see that across all traditions, that austerity is part of the practices, part in the religion.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, a person who delights in the senses lives in vain. So there's the voice of the senses, we're just looking for material pleasure, and then there's the voice of renunciation. And the Mayavadis are very renounced. They have celibacy, they only eat this, but it's dry. And they look very dour, there's no love in it. So it's not just austerity. It says appropriate to accept, voluntary accept in the service of the Lord. So these other traditions that offer some guidelines, some do's and don'ts, yama and niyama, they say in the yogic tradition, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. They're there to help us to learn to control the senses, but we're doing it on behalf of helping us turn that energy, that attention, that time to devotional service to Krishna. It's not just we're giving up this, but we're taking on pleasing the Lord. So it's they go hand in hand, the love and the renunciation. We're dedicating. We're not just giving up something. We're dedicating the effort for the pleasure of the Lord, for the benefit of everyone.
Thank you. I love that you mentioned that. I was thinking the other day. So one, Srila Prabhupada one time said, and this was in response to an Akadashi question that a devotee had, is that we're not the International Society of Rules and Regulations. We are the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Right. So it's not all about rules and regulations. And also on that note, it's not all about austerities. Because if we were all about austerities, we might as well be the Gyanis or the Dhyan yogis who are just fasting and living on water, living underneath the, in the forest, just on air. So that's that, as you mentioned, that's not the point. That's not the goal, is to be super austere. And you'll see some of the other, I was also making the argument that, we think we're quite austere, say, oh, we can't eat onions and garlic, we can't eat meat, no eggs, no fish. But the Jains, for example, probably think we're not austere at all. They're not eating nightshades, not eating root vegetables. They're not, X, Y, and Z. But then, or those devotees who take milk now, but it's not Gita Nagari milk, it's not Himsa milk. So, we're so gratifying our senses. But you can make an argument for anything. And on that note, we could say we're in the spectrum, we're not the most austere because we're still taking milk, and maybe still in the American Western culture, we are, still eating root vegetables, which is violence to the root, the carrots and such. But that's not the point. Our point is not to be the most austere. Some austerity is good, but our goal is love and devotion to God. So I appreciate your point. And it was just a point of reflection that yes, but austerity is actually, some austerity is good. Even I like what Jai Girdhari had mentioned in one of his sessions, that fasting at any point has some benefit. Arjuna Prabhu likes to fast, and during that time he has all these realizations, he resets his life, a new way of habits. So some fasting is good at any point, but of course fasting for Krishna, fasting on the recommended days will have even more potency. But it was all of this to say that austerity is necessary, I guess, for the human form of life, or recommended, but that's not our full goal. Our full goal is prema bhakti, selfless love and devotion to Krishna.
The point Srila Prabhupada makes along those lines is, we don't surrender to a list of rules. We don't surrender to a building. We don't surrender to an institution. We surrender to a person. We're inspired by the example, the integrity of the Acharya. And we want to please him. We want to reciprocate with the love he's showing for us. So we surrender to a person. A list of rules is just a piece of paper with ink on it. And there's no loving exchange. Not to say that the spiritual master doesn't offer guidelines, but it's not just the rules and regulations. That's a really good point. And even it's an offense to, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it explains to just follow the rules and regulations, forget why you're doing it. Jesus said to the Pharisees, you following the letter of the law, but you're neglecting the spirit of the law. You're straining on a gnat and you're swallowing a camel. Ridiculous, just following rules and regulations and forgetting that there are exceptions, and who are you doing it for? It's very important.
Oh, if there's, I'll add just another comment. I love that you mentioned that. I also just noticed that if you take a step back, almost at any point in time, if we take a look at say a calendar year, that's our human measurement of time in one sense to have some order. Some, at almost at any point in time, there's some austerity done for God. If you look at that, for example, say there's, I'm not 100% sure, I might be getting the order incorrect, but say there's Lent from kind of a certain point to following up to Easter. So the Christians are giving up something, adding in more prayer, or the austerity of, say, giving up sugar or whatever they are up until Easter. And then it goes straight into Ramadan and they're fasting from like sun to like, what is this? Rise to like sunset for like 12 hours, no food, no water, and austerity for 30 days. And it goes straight to, maybe it was like Yom Kippur, whatever it is. And then, we go to like, we of course we have a Kaddishi during those times, and then the disappearance days, appearance days, Jamastami, and then Kartik. Of course, with Kartik, sometimes it's not so much what you're taking out, but what you're adding in. But it's also a time of austerity. Let's chant more rounds. It's 40x the potency. It's really getting honed in. So it's just interesting that if you, I guess, take a higher level point of view, we should always be doing austerity in one sense for Krishna, for the Lord. And that's happening if you kind of chart all the traditions, that it seems like one austerity after another, they're giving up something, they're thinking about the Lord. It's it all links quite nicely. So at any point in time, those are performing, there are austerities being performed for the Lord.
Krishna says, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you give in charity, do as an offering unto me. So it's all based on desire, and then Krishna will give us. I had something to do last night, and I didn't want to do it, and I said, my duty, I gotta go there and do that. Even children can learn that principle, that there's a higher taste, higher than selfish indulgence, is service. Ananda Vihara, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just recalling yesterday. I received a phone call from a disturbed person, and I had a weird feeling about that phone call, about that person, and I said, probably I shouldn't engage with that, but it's my service to engage with that kind of, and I was thinking, yeah, it may be unpleasant, but I'm not here, it's not a resort. I'm not here to enjoy. I'm here to fight. Rasanath Prabhu said many years ago, it stuck with me for years. I'm here to fight. I am here to fight. And then immediately it became very easy. I dealt with it. It was easy. As soon as you change the consciousness, change the lens from resort to battlefield, it becomes, everything starts making sense. All the seemingly difficult things become easy. Oh yes, I'm not here I'm on this beach to storm it. It's a D-Day. I'm not here to dig a hole and build a castle and enjoy. I'm here to fight. And then it becomes easier that way. But if we think we're here to enjoy, we get frustrated every single time. Srila Prabhupada says we get kicked by Maya. We get kicked by Maya. It's a very humiliating process in materialistic life.
The scripture describes as first Vaidhi Bhakti, which means you do it because the spiritual master asked you to do it. It's not easy. You didn't like it or not like it, but you obediently do it. And then there's Raganuga Bhakti. There's actually a point where it becomes relishable. Even though it's difficult, you have a taste for that, come on. But,
yeah, the taste comes by doing it.
Yeah.
By doing it, the taste comes.
Okay, now we will perform the austerity of stopping the class at this point because it's 8:00. And we will say, how wonderful is Krishna? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. We love you guys.
Thank you so much, Adi Purusha Prabhu.
All glories to Prabhupada.